More shotguns.
Wait a second, there's no single player campaign. Call of Duty Black Ops 4 brings us some shiny new models but no traditional campaign whatsoever. Yeah, there's a Zombies Wave shooter mode in there, and it's certainly come a long way in its 10 years, but it's designed as an arcade multiplayer experience only. This channel is all about the full single player campaign package. Man, 2018 was quite the year for incentivized multiplayer games. Should you want an idea of how these guns would score, check out the Black Ops 3 review, as these guns here are pretty much their equal. Now, what else we got? Hunt Down the Freeman has a pretty nice looking shotgun, if a little plain, and that top rail looks horribly scaled. Decent shot and loading sound effects too, with a good rate of fire, not sluggish. Animates very nicely, no complaints there. Where I do have a complaint are with these utterly atrocious enemies that are an absolute pain to shoot. They run through all your fire, metal ricochets only when shot, the tiniest flinch if you're lucky, and that death animation, WTF. I take it all back, give me the ragdolls any day. The double barrel is posed way too big on screen, got your hand and shells right in your face. Again, very smooth and well animated with good sound effects. The single and double shot fire mode is very welcome and really a must have. With no other ammo types, it's very much a stock affair. Well, aside from the duct tape flashlight for spooky thrills.
This is a bit creepy.
Overall, you get the same below par impacts and reactions from enemies with either weapon. The quality of these shotguns don't seem to fit the game they find themselves within. Project Warlock. 6 shotguns in this game, so I'll be concise. This one has a wonderfully punchy shot sound and crystal clear shell casing drops. Very nice. Unique stylized animated sprites with perfect posing on screen, explaining the lack of crosshair by default. Projectiles behave exactly as you would expect, with a good rate of fire that lets you keep the hordes at bay with a little skill. The Slugshot upgrade is self-explanatory. There's a slight aesthetic change to the weapon, green cartridges and a tweaked shot sound. Picking off enemies from afar is a lot of fun once you hone your skill. Could just have been an alt-fire, but this game is loaded with magic spells on your right click already. Impacts are good but basic. Enemies stagger well with clear audible and visual cues, some good environment destructibility too. Some enemies also have destructible states, which is very satisfying to blow to pieces. Could have really done with more of that throughout, adding different attack and movement patterns into the mix too. These two are a heck of a lot of fun and share an impressive 9 out of 10. The Autoloader is a bit of a downgrade as you lose a lot of the immediate punch and sense of weight. The shot sound is now overbearing, and while it's fun to run and gun, it's a definite drop in raw satisfaction. You pretty much lose all animation too, which doesn't help. I also find the sprite to be a bit muddled, even for the style. Man, the Boomstick is satisfying to fire. A real crack to it and you can take on entire rooms of monsters with this thing, including the big boys. I love this gun. It captures everything a double barrel shotgun should be. Menacing, snappy, sharp. Very nice frames of animation with the reload. I love how a handful of well-made still frames can perform just as good as the best 3D creations. Those spent shells hitting the ground never gets old too. This really is a top-notch boomstick with just those more basic enemy reactions holding it back from perfection. The Flak cannon has a neat looking sprite and excellent projectile design. Think Unreal Tournament's Flak cannon, but hotter, faster and with 2 rounds. It absolutely shreds all enemies apart, setting them on fire in the process. It is without doubt overpowered in the game, as I certainly had no problems on any level, even on harder difficulties. This gun does a bit more in the impact department on top of the decent default setup, so top marks now for the category, but at the same time it's dropped a point in the sound as the shot loses its crisp punch for something more muffled. It's a minor gripe and was so close to our first 2D sprite based 10 out of 10, an excellent gun nonetheless. Finally, the quad barrel option is a stunningly powerful shot that takes down everything, including chapter bosses with no sweat. It would have been better to see a more explosive death animation from point blank kills to elevate the shooting experience. It's quad barrels after all. Really needed the option of discharging single barrels too. In a similar story to the Flak cannon, the shot sound is also a downgrade from the stock double barrel. After all of these, I'm very much looking forward to the sequel. Lost in Vivo is an indie game with an overwhelmingly positive review score on Steam. It clearly didn't get that for its gunplay, however. This one is a chore to use and is less powerful than the game's pistol. The inventory does state it's only firing rock salt, but even these creepy slugs don't seem to be bothered too much. Model is poor, animation poor, sounds bland, although kudos for the shell bounces. Enemies don't flinch, and it's so underpowered. Why even bother with it? I'm really doing you a service now. The double barrel is only available after completing this 5-hour game. You can then inexplicably choose it in the inventory menu by pressing W or S, which will evade 99% of players. What's worse, it's actually the better gun. It's not firing dust anymore and lets you pop off individual barrels. It's actually approaching fun to kill things with it. Anyway, I'm being very generous with the score here. This is not an FPS for shooter fans. Dusk. The super shotgun has great punch and sonic clap to it, raises an eyebrow the first time you fire. The model looks, well, very retro, but has style. Bobs and points around very smoothly too. Projectiles are spot on, big spread but not screen filling, encouraging you to get close. Only very short enemy flinches when hit, half the time nothing at all. The blood particle effects and barely audible squelch of your shot hitting flesh almost makes up for it. You get a good rhythm firing these two shotguns, keeping multiple demons at bay. The shot sound is again neat and high fidelity, with accompanying dynamic lighting and stylish rotating reload animations. You get a nice punchy sensation from it all. The fast pace and sliding while firing feels good, but never exhilarating. More needed to be done with the enemy reactions to make that emotional connection with your actions. As such, you get a fun pair of shotties here that don't push any boundaries. Please consider supporting on Patreon. I love it.